Hi everyone, welcome to Section 4, Unit 4. This is the last unit in the Graphic Arts course. This unit is designed to help you understand a little bit about creating a business around your art. We've covered absolutely every step of the way from conception of an idea to creating and working on your storyboard, creating your art, preserving your art, displaying your art, and now it leads us up to the potential of actually making or earning money or an income through your work. So many artists are doing that online. It's a growing field where artists are your age and younger even are creating and sustaining a living through their work. The world is at your fingertips. So by that means anyone at any place at any time can look at your work. If they like your work, they can purchase it. So what does that mean? How is that changing the way that art is being sold? Now, we're going to be defining two very important aspects of potential avenues of where you can draw in income with your work in this section. In this unit, we're focusing on two, primarily print on demand and then table art, doing events and signings. Gallery art is something that is really difficult to approach because, quite honestly, it's the most challenging and difficult area of art sales to get into. Selling your painting and making your work available in online walls and galleries so that people can walk in and look at your work is very hard. It's also very challenging doing that in an area where you don't have a whole lot of opportunities concerning displaying your work. So we're focusing on the major resources available to everyone at any location at any time, and that is, of course, the internet. So let's get started in today's unit, the final unit. And I hope from here you will see that you have the potential through your work and your creations to earn a living and become a professional artist. We talked throughout this entire section on how to do that, especially in the last unit. In the last unit, we talked about promoting. And I was thinking about how to arrange these units for these last few units in this section and how to do that. So I thought first, maybe what if we should best put business before promotion? And then I thought, well, as long as I'm able to get the point across to you that it's important to promote consistently. That's something that you don't do just once and then you create a business. You have to do that consistently. But in order to sustain a business and have any experience on orders and sales online or sales in person or any of that stuff, you need to really have your work out there in some form or fashion. So you have to have some people looking at your work. So I purposefully positioned promoting before business for a reason. Another thing I want to go ahead and preface before we start in this unit is that we do not get into the specifics of how you operate a business. Operating a small business, there's entire semesters and degrees out there on this. We don't overcomplicate it. I don't want you to think too much about it being in terms of massively unable to understand how to go about creating your own business. It's pretty simple. You keep track of what you sell. You have to order things to sell. So you have to have items. And then you want to also think about areas where when you sell something that's more popular than others, of course you want to invest more into that. And tracking loss and gain and profit and inventory and all these things. All these things are not covered in depth within this unit. We do touch base on one because it's connected to a very important aspect of online distribution, that's print on demand. And a lot of young artists wanting to have a career in art need to know about print on demand, because if you do not have access to a lot of money to start up your business, chances are print on demand is going to be the best chance for you because it doesn't take a lot of money up front to create and start your business. So with that being said, let's go ahead now and jump into our actual unit today, and we'll start considering a little bit about what it means to start a business with your work. So many times, and I'm guilty of this too, when I've thought about selling art, I thought that art had to be in a gallery. So I thought that typically people will go into a gallery, they'll look at works on the wall, and they say, I like this, I don't like that, that sort of thing. And they purchase works off a wall to take home with them. all the work that you've done leading up to this final piece of work that you're so proud of. Typically, if you're shooting for the goal of having your work sold in a gallery, that is the most difficult and hardest to sustain an income with. The most effective thing to do, the most effective way to think about this, is that your gallery, okay, your wall, the walls you place your art on, think of it more in terms of being through a website. So you have a digital gallery and an online gallery. And if it ever gets to the point where your work is so sought after, the galleries are asking you to sell originals on their walls, or heck, just to hang an original on your wall and sell prints, then that is wonderful. But to get to that point, you first have to do some legwork. And all this legwork really honestly leads up to getting out there and getting noticed. So many artists today search for events around their community to participate in. Now, events can be anything. I've done farmers markets before. That's the most furthest thing away from art you could think of as food, but yes, I've done that before. Just to be able to get my work out there. Use opportunities to promote your work, as we talked about in the last unit. And these ways to join communities and organizations where you can become aware of what things are out there available to you to participate in is important. So when we're thinking about sustaining a business with your work, you want to think about, if you conduct these events, what are you going to sell? And when we think about selling original art, in terms of, like we said earlier and looked at, this painting you've been working on for so long, and you think about selling that one individual painting, one time to one person, that sells final and that's it. I want you to stop thinking in those terms so much and start thinking in the terms of selling your work in the forms of print. So you create a painting. Instead of selling that painting one time to one person for one amount, you can actually turn that into a profit cow, cash cow for you, in terms of you selling that print over and over and over again. Now, there's tons of artists out there who are branching into doing prints in all sorts of different ways. You need to know what you're selling in order how to display it. So let's say you've created this painting for this graphic arts course, and you want to start selling that in terms of prints. You need to start looking into ways that you can have a nice presence at an event, at a table, how to organize your table, how you display your prints, whatever it is you're selling, that will make you approachable and to make your work stand out. Many resources exist online that will suggest different ways on how to do this. How do you market yourself in person versus online? Now, once you decide what you're going to be selling, you have to think about the price you're selling it as. And the best way to do that, really, the best way to get an idea on what your art is worth, is to compare that with others. And we're going to talk more about that here pretty soon. But when you're researching events around you and around your region, I know locally in Eastern Kentucky, there's events all year round at different times. There's farmers markets. Some allow you to display your work and sell your work in outdoor settings, and these sorts of things matter, so you need to know how to prepare. A lot of artists go ahead and research the events ahead of time, of course, to see different settings will be available. Are you indoor? Are you outdoor? Will you have table space? We need to bring your own table. Once you understand where you're going and the setting you're going in, you can better prepare. Now, when I first started out, I didn't have a tent, I didn't have a table, I didn't have any displays, so I had to learn exactly what you're learning right now, how to set up to sell your work. And what I found is online there's tons of resources. It takes a little bit of an investment, but the idea is as you sell your work, and we're talking about in person now with events, you generate what's called profit. And profit is the difference between what you paid for something and what you're selling it for. That difference goes into your account, into your pocket, and then you can take the profit from what you sell after you save up, and you can invest back into your business. So that could be, one example, is purchasing these types of displays for your prints. Now, it's hard to value your own art, and we have to think about what your cost is versus another person's. But once you've decided upon ways to display your work and your prints, you also want to turn that money back in on itself, as we said. So you may invest on displays, you may invest on banners, you may invest on table runners. There's tons of different ways to think about this. Now you compare that to a gallery setting where you're selling one piece of art, one time, and you have one transaction. When you're selling prints, you're actually having multiple transactions. This opens up a world of possibility for you, especially since an original painting can be quite large. Selling prints of that painting, of course, means that you have to scan it. So having access to a scanner is important. A lot of schools have scanners available in their office. Your art teacher will know exactly what you need to do in order to get a nice resolution on that scan. And then you have to start researching ways to sell your work. Now, once you have a digital copy of your work, it opens you up to either doing events in person, or it offers you the availability of selling your work online. Selling your work online in the form of prints is a wonderful way to go because of print on demand. Now, if you just Google or use a search engine and search for print on demand, you'll find that you could take your one image and you can print that image at multiple sizes depending on the resolution. This is stuff you'll have to research. And you'll have different options for folks to order different sizes of your art. A lot of online distributors will offer tons of different options for this, so you're not locked down into one particular size. This helps in small business in many ways because one of the most troublesome things with business is what's called inventory. Inventory is the stock of items that you have for sale. Now, if your inventory is very large, such as in this picture with this person and their books, you can imagine how difficult it is to sell all of that and turn that back into profit. Some folks will even get to the point where they have to sell all of their items at the cost that they bought it at and take a loss perhaps even in order to get rid of their inventory. The problem with inventory is you're constantly creating new work. So if you have older prints that are existing in the backlog and they're taking up space, and you've just created this painting that everyone's after and you only have so much room to store your inventory in, then it could take up space, and that space will cost you money. Print on demand alleviates this for us. It allows us to go ahead and offer something online, but you don't have a lot of inventory sitting in the back corner somewhere. When you're thinking about producing something for sale online, inventory comes into play in terms of numbers, and these numbers can be broken down into all sorts of different percentages. It can be broken down into new work for sale, actual inventory for sale, work that has existed that you need to get rid of that maybe is taking up too much space. All these different things come into play. There's different programs that exist out there to help you break down your inventory. Now, if you're working with singly print on demand, then you're in good shape. But if you're planning on doing different events, you'll have to have products to sell. You won't do very well going to set up an event somewhere, such as this gentleman here in this photo is done, and you say to the person when they come to your booth or table, all of the work you see here is available online. Nothing's for sale here today, but if you take this link and go home, you can find it there. Chances are you won't have many reoccurring customers or returning customers, if any. So we think about the best way to sell, the best way to sustain a business for your work. It's definitely more online. Now, you being a young artist have access to tons of different social platforms to promote in. We talked about in the last unit. But just as much as all of the different platforms that exist to promote, there's different platforms to sell your work as well. Now, I don't want to get too caught up in promoting any particular type of platform over another, but we are going to talk about a few of those today. Print on demand offers you to be able to place an image online and then offer that print, that image, in different types of formats. It offers you different sizes, as we talked about earlier, or even types of items. There's different services out there that allow you to upload an image, as you've seen many times with photographs of family, pets, friends. And you can place that image on tons of different things such as t-shirts, bags, flip-flops, hoodies, cups, mugs, mouse pads. If you have an image that is seemingly popular, that people are purchasing, then you may want to look into offering that image on different items. Now, one way that artists can both promote and sell at the same time is through promotion and offering incentives for those who come to your website. These free platforms that exist out there, like we talked about just a moment ago, offering different items, they also incorporate ways that you could talk about your work as well. These are typically called blogs. Blogs or vlogs for video. You may want to even think about opening and creating a YouTube channel where you talk about a specific work you're working on currently, offer the audience a release date for when that work will be available, and build up the momentum, the interest in that, up until the point when it's available on sale online. Now, those of you who may be a little intimidated with creating a blog, there's different writing prompts that you can follow. You can say, post a different blog every 3 days or twice a week. The more often, the better, but at the same time, it's hard to balance promotion, business, and creation when you're an artist. But these writing prompts help you to sit down and start to write about yourself or your work or others' work. This helps you to create content, and content is the key. If you have the resources available to start your own website, then I highly suggest that. Not only does this cover multiple units that we've talked about here in the graphic arts course, but it also ties into business as well. Promotion, online portfolios, and business today run together, hand in hand. So do a search on free website platforms or free website builders. You may also want to think about researching different methods other artists have used to be successful at selling their work online. You'll find that there's thousands to tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands different suggestions that exist out there, or 15. Having an understanding of what other artists have done in the past to become successful at what they're doing will help you to narrow down what resources you have available to you and what will work best for you to incorporate in your own work. What it really boils down to is having an online presence where people see your work, with also an option within that visibility to purchase it. If you can combine those things along with promotion and creating consistent content, backing your work, you will become successful. Many artists, graphic communicators know tons of different resources available, but may resource only a handful that really work for them. This could be your situation as well. Be careful though when you're looking online for different options that offer services, tips, suggestions, or even the help to doing some of this for you for money. There's many websites that prey on artists that are trying to do just what you're trying to do today. Tying into social media with business is hand in hand. Promotion, business, they tie together and come together to make a cohesive whole which will allow you to sustain yourself as a young artist. Use these social platforms in a way that you can promote your work, that you could talk about upcoming events, you could talk about new releases coming out, and find different ways to reach your audience through promotion of sales. DeviantArt is one of the largest online storehouses of creator content today. You can not only promote your work on DeviantArt, but you can also sell it, which makes it hand in hand with what we talked about earlier as being a good option for a social platform of selling your work. Setting the price for your work varies by determining whose work is out there that is comparable to yours. See what they're selling their work for. Setting the price, balancing yourself both in person at events and online through print on demand is important. Offer incentives such as percentages off on certain events, or let's say Black Friday, or different types of giveaways that you may offer to promote different new works or maybe existing works that you need to move faster or aren't selling as well. Remember to always counterbalance that with different items. You want to make sure and keep an idea in mind of your percentages, what is selling the best, what isn't, what method is going better than other methods of selling your work. Research how others are doing it and what they're doing, how they're making their work available through different types of items for sale. Look into conducting events in your community and around your region that will offer people a in-person glimpse and window into your work. Try to take some of the money that you earn from your work and put that back into your business, sustaining different ways that you can become accessible to people both in person and online. And think about your presence both in person, online, and your branding, as we talked about in the past. Your branding, promotion, all these things tie hand in hand. In the old days, as we'll say, an artist selling their work in a gallery setting could have their work setting forever. But you've worked very hard to create what it is that you have, and you want people to see it. So instead of having to rely on people making an effort to walk into a building to look at your work, everything can be made available to folks simply and easily as a click of a button. So be thinking about these options that you have available to you as a young artist. Be thinking of ways to promote yourself, ways to get your work out there. So much of becoming a professional at any one given type of interest is the amount of time, effort, and work you're willing to put into it. So that's it. That's the final unit of the final section in the graphic arts course. I hope that you are very, just look back over the course of work that we've completed together and you feel very proud of yourself, because you should be. This has been a challenging course. We've skimmed over very, very vast areas, dense areas, complicated areas when it comes to production, when it comes to preservation, when it comes to gathering and conceptualizing ideas. This hasn't been an easy course, but if you followed it with a certain focus in mind, I think that you will absolutely feel rewarded and very proud of yourself at the end. That's the goal of this course. Everything has been covered within the graphic arts course, from conception of an idea to creating the work, production, from preserving it to displaying it, and now even promoting your work and actually starting a business around your work. These are things that can be done. You could do this from anywhere, at any time. You have so many resources available to you at your fingertips. The only thing I think really that differentiates between someone taking the course and getting through it and putting it aside now, and then someone taking the course and having things opened up to them in terms of what you could do, producing work and selling that many times over in the forms of prints or other types of medium, is that those out there that have taken this course that genuinely would like to have a career doing this one day. It may not be for you, that's okay. But for those out there that have taken this course and you've said to yourself during some point of this is something that I could see myself doing, well, we really, really, really hope that you'll go on and create and think about creating your own work, selling that work, and sustaining yourself as a professional artist within the illustration field, within animation even, or within just creating prints and sharing your work through Etsy and other online platforms. So thank you so much for allowing me into your classroom. Thank you to the educators and teachers out there who have made this course available to your students. I would love to see all of the amazing works that will come from this course in the future. You can post that on To The Holler. We would love to see that work just come flooding through. So thanks for allowing me into your classroom. And I'm so proud of everyone who has completed this course. I hope you'd enjoyed it. And until next time, I'm Christopher Epling. And remember, keep drawing.